podcast. My guest today is someone very deeply connected to my musical past, Bleu, an amazing artist and someone that I think planted some really crucial DNA into my creative spirit. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to welcome you to Vibe Mountain.
By the way, planting DNA sounds like
It sounds,
I'm a serial murderer, maybe.
yeah, or depending on what Netflix shows you're watching, you know.
Fair enough.
I try and stay away from that stuff, but yeah, man, welcome.
Thanks.
It's
yeah.
so good to see
Stoked
you.
to be here.
We just
Great place. I like that. I've been very into lately the like smell of a place.
Oh, nice.
In like addition to, I actually just built a new little studio room.
Dope.
At my space in Santa Monica and kind of designed the vibe and everything from the ground up. And as you know, like I'm very into flowers over the last like several years, and all things fake flowers.
What
and shit like
what
that,
have you like? What was there something that sparked your just like diving into being into flowers, or?
Not really. I mean, both my dad and my grandma were like always like really into flowers, and like having actual flower gardens and all that kind of shit. But I cannot keep a plant alive to save my life.
Yeah.
I'm just like one of those people, you know, that just I don't know. It doesn't,
so you don't have any houseplants?
I kill plants.
Yeah.
Basically, but. I'm like, but I still like the vibe of flowers, you know. What do I do? And it's like, you know, so I'm like fake flowers all the way.
Oh, fake flowers.
Yeah, big time.
Interesting.
And flower patterns and like all that stuff. I have, you know, flowers on these.
I love the
flowers
Warhol
on my hat. Thanks. My
Velvet
wife got me
Underground
these.
socks, because those actually, like when I started nudes, like that's like the biggest inspiration for me for my cover art, because my symbol
Warhol.
Yeah, like if you see like everything I do has the cantaloupe, and so I always
Totally.
like looked at the banana and was like, how can I do that? And this was my fruit of choice.
Dude, I love the cantaloupe art.
Thank you so
I
much.
found it super inspiring.
Thank
actually
you.
when I first, you know,
Yeah, I remember
saw
you said that.
Yeah, I think I like hit you up.
You did. You have mentioned it a few times, and I'm like, that's awesome.
I'm so into it.
Yeah.
I really like the ones where you like fuck with the cantaloupe.
Oh yeah.
Like where you're like pouring stuff
like
on
paint
it,
and
or like I don't know. As you know, like I dabble in arty things myself too. So
well, that's
like,
what I think is so cool. And when I mentioned like planting some creative DNA in myself, or exchanging ideas, or maybe it's just that like we were just like destined to connect, is that I like there's a lot about the way that you are as an artist, and how like you're just like you're fucking blue, man. Like you just like do your thing. Like you creatively, you are just like a rocket ship that's going through outer space, and it's your orbit. And that's something that like I really like admire, and I've tried to like incorporate with everything that I do. You know what I mean? Like you're in Vibe Mountain now. Like this is my creative palace, and I've been lucky enough to like dive into my creative world, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, was just to like share those experiences and those types of creative people, so people could have like an experience and like get to know creative people outside of just like, you know, I feel like people are so exposed to artists like the mainstream, you know, huge artists, and then like people playing on the street for like, you know, or whatever, but there's no in between of like how you can have an healthy, fruitful, creative, artistic life. And those are the types of people that I wanted to showcase on this podcast.
I love that. Well, as you know, I'm like kind of deeply entrenched in that like world right now, because I'm writing this course for Berklee College of Music.
Yes,
which
that's how we connected. That's how we reconnected.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I interviewed Josh for the course, and we talk a lot about that, what it means to be like, you know, a kind of a working artist, specifically in your case in terms of sync. In the course, it gets into like a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that's so inspiring about what you do, and has been very inspiring for me as well, is that it is so unique and specific. And I think when people think of like sync in particular, like they somehow think it's the opposite of that. But I actually think that the most successful people typically are actually the most unique, and who are like living in their own world and like space. And I mean, just in general, I've been super inspired by your uniqueness and
thank you, man.
the uniqueness of Nudes. I mean, it's our music is dissimilar in a lot of ways.
Yes,
but
and I wanna talk about that.
one way that I think it is actually very similar is that even though you seemingly are working in a lot of different genres, it's all identifiable as your thing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
a lot of
really
people say
appreciate
the
that.
same thing about what I do as
yeah,
well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like
Even though our things are like totally different.
Yeah. And I want to talk about like how specifically working with you inspired me, finding my voice, like finding that thing that you see or you feel as identifiable to me. I feel like definitely was connected to our time working together, and I want to talk about that. But just kind of playing off of what you just said is,
What do you have there? Can I see that?
Yeah. This is, you know what? I decided that I wanted to hold that crystal today during the interview, but I forgot the name of it, and I knew that you were gonna say, "What is that?" And I was gonna not be able to tell you. It's blue, obviously. It's blue something, but it's really good for your throat chakra.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So
I could use that.
I think this is I think we can all use it. I keep that around actually, like when there are people recording
nice.
vocals.
Heavy.
Yeah. You can vibe with it for a minute.
Okay, great.
I have it right, like, you know, on my desk. So if someone's recording vocals and I feel like they need to loosen up, I'll just be like, hold this, you know.
Great.
And then they just like vibe with it.
Nice. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, it's all good. That's the flow, you know. But basically I was just saying that it's I don't know. I forgot what it was. But we'll just chop into the next part. I didn't have the crystal, so I lost my momentum. No.
No, but I think you were saying, you know, that when we first started working together, that it, you know, that's when you were starting to figure out.
Yes.
Like,
So going back,
I think it's so interesting. Do you like look back at that and like how do you like sort of see that music and that time period now?
I'll tell you exactly. So like, to get people caught up as to what Bleu's talking about, basically when I started playing music, I had no it was not really feasible to be like a music artist, like to have this type of life, like to be an artist making music was incomprehensible to me. You know what I mean? So I had to deal with a lot of like negative thought patterns of like, you can't do this, right? So but I've been writing songs since I was 12 years old. Like I've been passionate about music my whole life. Music was the thing. No matter how I tried to get away from it, it just kept pulling me back. So we fast forward to about 2006, 2007. I moved to New York City. I moved in with one of my best friends from high school who was a phenomenal songwriter, but he just like mentally wasn't there, wasn't really able to go the distance as far as like having maybe a musical career at that time. But we wrote a bunch of songs, we put them up on MySpace, and it like, you know, it got a lot of buzz. This was 2007. 2007, the music industry was like crazy because it was like the internet was like just starting to really like impact things, but they were still signing those old deals where they, you know, few $100,000 for 5 albums, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden this became real to me. It was like, whoa, we're getting approached by all these labels. At that time, me and my friend who I was writing the songs with, we had a huge falling out. You know, not a huge falling out, but it just didn't work. Didn't work out. So then I had this project.
What was the name of that band?
That was TV.
That was TV.
Yes,
TV?
yes. So what happened was I had all this momentum going with these songs that I wrote with my friend,
Yeah.
and basically there was like a lot of momentum, but I was used to writing with this person all the time.
Wait, it wasn't called TV.
Yes, it was. It was always called TV.
It was?
Yes,
Okay.
So this
See,
is
now
funny.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
The funny thing is that TV was started with my two roommates in the East Village.
Okay.
And then just like, it just kept going through the changes of all these different sort of like personalities. For me, what TV really is TV is the 2007 version of TV, which was myself, my friend Joe, Matt, and Andrew, and we were in New York City, and that's when we got the MySpace and doing the residency at pianos. That was when we were like the New York City band, and it was really cool. It felt legit, you know? Anyway, fast forward to after the falling out, we didn't get any record label offers, and it was like 2 years at this point. And I'm just waiting for that garbage truck to go by. I realize that I can't do interviews on Tuesday mornings because of the garbage trucks.
Oh,
but
but
this is what you learn.
But I think
Maybe
we should
it's
just
ambience.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay. So
Makes
fast
this
forward.
space real.
Yes, it's alive.
It's very New York,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. I'm much happier to be in Vibe Mountain, but so I came out. It was like, okay, what am I doing? I went on my first tour, you know, in a van. We're playing these like little, like really like shitty shows, sleeping on people's floors. We get to LA, and I get the opportunity to do this co-write. I've never done a co-write before, ever.
Yeah, I was your first
Yes,
co-write.
you were the first co-write.
Yeah.
You were my first. I'd been to LA, but not really. It was like my first time in LA. Like, you were my introduction to all of the LA music scene was like that session with you. And I showed up to your apartment in Culver City. Like, I will never, ever, ever forget all of that stuff. That apartment, like everything about that. And the funny thing,
I remember you were really nervous too.
Yeah, and you gave me a shot of whiskey.
You were like noticeably nervous.
Well, because I had never done that before.
Totally.
And I remember you gave me a shot of whiskey, but first of all, one thing that I think is so funny is that we wrote that song that day, and that song made money for me for years because it just got syncs all the time.
Totally.
And that was really fascinating. But anyway, that session was so successful in the sense that there was so much energy that was exchanged. So I think I had just started working with Doc at that point, because Doc came in to replace my other friend as a guitar player, not a songwriter. So Doc and I had to learn. We'd never written songs together, and we learned how to write songs together with you.
Yeah.
So it was just a really
And my approach to
crazy time.
songwriting, I was like, we kind
Your
of have talked
approach-
about this
Your
before.
approach to
but
songwriting is like, you know, I want to use the word extremely rooted in your principles of what you think the song has to be. And
big time.
And that's totally cool, because I think like I'm the same way at this point now where I'm at in my career, is like I only do things the way that I do things.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And like that's what I do. And it's like if people want to work with me, it's like we got to do the things the way that I do it. Same thing with you. And I was like in working with you and honestly, like as a first co-writing experience, because I was coming from New York City, and I don't think that people anywhere outside of LA or maybe Nashville or those like music cities like know what a co-writing experience is like.
Totally.
Because a co-writing experience is like, unless you do it, like people I don't think really understand.
I actually
there's
think
a real sort of like,
yeah,
there's a way to do it.
I actually think the way that you make music now, or that I imagine that you make music now, is actually more like what people think a co-write is, which is just people like getting in a room, having fun, and doing like wildly creative things and stuff like that.
That is how I make music. I'm happy that you can imagine that.
And like, but I think it's like, I think people think that producing records still, like a lot of people, is like all the musicians getting in a room like a Saturday Night Live
Yeah,
skit.
yeah.
All the musicians
Yeah.
in the room at the same
Yeah.
time playing all the stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like, no, that's not
Like,
how.
this is another really important part of our story, which is like when we made Fire Island Freakout.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so
What was the original title of that?
that was it. That was the original title. So this is what happened.
Oh yeah, and then we changed.
Yes, but
Okay.
we're gonna get there in the
Yes.
story. But the crazy thing is, okay, so basically we did that co-write. It was so successful that I was like, hey, let's do a bunch more of this, right? So I came out with Doc to make an EP with you. And the crazy thing is that we made that EP like 10 minutes away from here. That was my first time ever coming to this neighborhood. And now I'm like, oh my God, like this is my home. Like I love it, you know? So that was interesting. But when we made Fire Island Freakout, I remember coming in the room, you had the riff. You had like the whole loop. It was kind of like put together. And then you know, like we got the vocals on it and it was like done, and it was like, whoa, that's so magic. Like, how did we do that? And like one of my favorite sound bites from our Berkeley interview was when you said, like, I asked you, like, do you make this much music, like a song in a day or something? Right. And you were like, yeah, like we make a song every day. Because like for me it was like make a song like every couple of months a song was done. Like it took so long when I was at that time developing in New York. Now, I mean, there are days where I have like 5 songs.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably do at least 3 or 4 a day. And it's like crazy how quick that they come, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, we did the Fire Island Freakout. So in the history books, then we made this EP called Not Enough Red, which was the EP that we sold on Warped Tour 2009. So if anybody knows TV, they'll probably know the Not Enough Red EP. And basically that was when we got signed to Mom and Pop.
Right.
And this is like a big moment, because then the label came in and was like, you guys should change these words, you guys should do all this stuff, and like, and then there was a meeting between the label head and you fucking like, it was very uncomfortable for me because my parents had separated at a really early age, and like when my parents would fight,
I've never heard this.
was exactly how I felt like in that moment when you were fighting with Goldie.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, oh my God. And then at the time, then like you got fired, we changed the lyrics, and that was it. And that was it, really. Like then we saw each other for Ramen when Ghost Speech had started.
Yep.
And then I didn't really.
Well, there were some other there were some other like little chapters to the story, because you guys ended up like, I don't remember exactly what ended up happening with the EP, but you ended up like coming
it was
back.
just a disaster. It was
ended up coming back, and
disaster.
I ended up finishing some of the songs
it was
anyway
just a disaster.
later.
It was just a disaster.
Didn't we do some song for like?
Oh yeah, we did a song for the wrestling. Yeah. It's okay. Like all this stuff that I used to be like super embarrassed to talk about, I don't even give a shit anymore. But it's funny because like that song became like such a cult song, Smoke and Mirrors.
Yes.
Right? And like we did our own version. Like we like made that song in Boston.
Yep.
But you know, like we needed money at the time, and we got paid, you know, a few $1,000s to do this song, and like, you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and we made that song, and you know, people were into it.
Totally.
But I think that was the last time that we worked together.
I feel like that should be way higher up on my resume.
You think so?
That I did a song. Was it is it the WWE? I get them all mixed up.
I'm not sure.
Or was it
Drop in the comments if you know. Correct us, please. But the thing is
I think that's cool as hell, by the way.
That's so. I think a lot of people think it's cool, actually. So
we wrote
like,
a song.
It's
a
fucking
theme.
Dope.
It's a theme song for a wrestler.
Yeah.
It's like their song.
Yeah. I know. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and that's why like this whole exchange is really important, because like I never talk about my musical past.
Yeah.
And like you are such an important piece of my musical past. And that's why I wanted to have
I think
this
some of
conversation
those
for the
records
podcast.
totally hold up,
Oh,
man.
hell yeah,
I mean,
totally, man.
they're they're very representative of that kind of time period.
Yeah.
But like not in a bad way.
Yeah.
I think they sound like good records of that kind of band from that time.
Yeah. And but I think like all the things that you said, like in that time period when like there was that fight going on with the label, like everything that you said like really stuck with me and like resonated with me, which was like don't don't listen to them. You know what I mean? Like don't let them tell you what to do. And I had to learn that lesson the hard way, which is like because I, at this point, like I said, I had started this band with my friend, I had this falling out, I didn't know what to do. It's like all of a sudden we got like all this major label attention, and then all that label attention goes away, and then it was like, this label wants to sign you. No, yes. I had no idea. Like I said, it wasn't even possible to be a music artist in my mind. So I just kind of like had this mentality of like, oh, I have to do whatever I can because this is my one shot.
Right.
And that's a huge thing that I want to like disprove in this podcast is that like you don't have one shot. It's like it's your life, you're in control. If
Eminem
one
lied.
Opportunity, what?
Eminem lied.
Yeah. I don't actually even know that. What does that mean?
He said the song, you get one shot,
Oh,
one
yeah.
opportunity.
Oh, yeah. The Eminem song. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, you have a billion opportunities. It's just, if one is closed, just go to the next one. It's
Every
like,
song is a new opportunity to like
every
start
single
over.
thing. And this is the best part about 2021 is like, no one cares anymore. No one cares anymore if you did music that was like absolutely, that you didn't fuck with 5 years ago and now you're doing this, like no one cares.
Yeah.
Back then it was like, oh, like it was so sacred, you know what I mean? But like no, like you're just creating, like it's just a part of your journey on learning how to express yourself. And that, when you really instilled that, like don't let anyone really like boss you around and tell you what to do as an artist. After that TV situation just completely fell apart and it was shelved and we had it was just like a complete disaster. That's when I was like, okay, like time to take it DIY, time to just like really focus on what my artistic expression is about. I started Ghost Speech because it was the next natural step. It was like, okay, I was doing co-writes and trying to get signed by a major label. Then it was like, let's just make music. Let's just write songs and make music. And Ghost Speech for me was a project where I learned how to produce.
Right.
And that was like getting way more into the production aspect of it, way more into the mixing. I was, Nick, the producer that really helped in that chapter of my life, like was very instrumental in like getting me on Ableton and like and guiding me on through that level. You know what I mean? You were really in that first step. Then the Ghost Speech was the second step. But what happened was, because you're talking about my music now, Nudes for me was like, okay, now I want to express myself purely.
And it makes me so happy to hear you say that, because obviously what happened in that particular situation was like a big deal for me at that time. I mean, now I don't even think about it. It's like, chapters and chapters.
It was really, really, really hard.
Behind, but I vindicated isn't the right word, but it just makes me so happy that moment actually was inspiring to you.
Yes.
And what's funny about it is your pendulum swing eventually was so far away from that situation and those ideals. And what was happening in that particular situation, as I remember it, which all of our memories are faulty, obviously, and flawed. But they really wanted to sort of chase a trend.
Yeah.
And it seemed very obvious to me that they sort of like saw your music and what we were doing together as like kind of as a commodity, sort of.
Yeah.
That's not exactly the right word that I'm looking for, but that's basically what it was. It needs to be this in order to like have the success
Yeah,
in our
yeah,
channel.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
And essentially they were trying to like make you this certain kind of warp
Yeah,
band
yeah,
tour,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
does
I
that
don't even
sound
know. It definitely
right?
does. Like they
You
were
know?
definitely. I think they had absolutely no idea what to do. And I actually am also like not upset with that situation
Well, it led to
because it made me
this.
realize that like you have to have your vision. Like getting signed to a label or like no there is no one that's going to give you a vision for your project. Like and so all these people that think all the time that like oh people are just puppets like they're just being really like that I'm not saying that that doesn't happen but like people have to be in control of their own ship to reach a certain point of success and to have a
No
type of
question.
career that they want. If you want a career, you have to be steering the ship because otherwise, what happened to TV
Yes.
is what happens to other people. So, you
And
know,
when that's happening, it's kind of, I realize now, of course, I didn't realize that at the time, there's almost kind of no point.
what do you mean?
There's no point in even chasing that.
No.
Or,
No.
or, you know, sort of participating
No.
in that
No.
sort of mentality. I mean,
It was
occasionally people ask me, like, what does it take to, like, make it, you know, or
it's a
whatever.
big tip. Big
And,
tip.
and I really, my answer has changed dramatically. But I would say for like the last 5+ years, my answer is always the same. It's one thing, and it's not what people think it is.
What is it?
And it's not talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's vision.
Ah, yes.
Seriously.
Yes.
I mean it.
Yes. I'm all about that.
The sort of the tagline underneath that is a point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that that sort of like trumps everything. And then there is always that, you know, the drive and, you know, the energy and the obsession and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's, and, you know, it just makes me so happy that you can look back at that moment. It actually allows me to look back at that moment with some real positivity.
Yeah. That was kind of what I wanted to do with this podcast episode, especially was like, you know, send our energy back to that moment and be like,
yeah,
like heal all that because like there was so much incredible things that happened between us.
Yeah.
And like so much incredible energy was created and generated
Big
during that
time.
time of us working together. And it was like really hard for when it kinked up and like what was that? You know what I mean? It wasn't meant to be. Like
Nope.
we weren't meant to it just that experience was meant to play out the way that I think it was because there's no
Totally.
way I would have my artistic experience now if it wasn't for that time.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy that we can now like just send that energy back and be like it was amazing.
And it was really fun. But
Yeah.
the
The stuff that we did was successful. That's the other thing.
Yes.
Is that like we had
but not in the way that
no, and that it never is your the way that your music connects is never how you think it's going to. What I like to say is that as long as you, and this is kind of what I wanted to say before. Remember when I said I forgot what I was going to say?
Yes.
This is what I wanted to say is that I believe that when you just put your heart and pour your heart into your vision, in anything you do in life, especially in the arts or music, when you pour your heart into it, things happen, but it's not going to be what you think is going to be the thing. Like, and I'm been going through this process of just like recalibrating my mind because I was focused on what my experience has to be, you know, to tick the boxes of being a musical success.
Yes.
But then I'm like, fuck it, like that's just not my experience. My experience is this, and that's what it is, you know. And anyway, what I wanted to say was that we had success with the stuff that we created because that song Turn Me On got synced so many times where it was like the only thing that like recouped any sort of the publishing deal that I did or whatever. That was like, if there was ever a steady stream of income during like the time that we stopped working together, like up until Nudes, it was like that song. Like legitimately.
And Fire Island Freakout, which they tried to get us to change the title of.
That song got a movie trailer that helped that movie
the
trailer. The
only reason is because of the title. It's only because of the title.
I know.
Which they wanted us to change because nobody's gonna like that's what I think.
I know.
You know, I don't know.
Well, so that also
I don't know how many
back.
conversations I've had with people where they're like, this A&R person or this label executive or this manager or this whatever is telling me I should change this thing because it's too weird and people won't get it. And I'm always like, when they're telling you that, that's when you know not to change it. That's when you know for sure. Because they're finally paying attention to something that you're doing, and their paying attention is how you know that it's right. Even though they're saying it's wrong.
It's so funny, man. It's so funny.
You must have encountered that to some degree at the beginning of Nudes.
No, with nudes, no. So basically, Ghost Beach, what ended up happening with Ghost Beach is like we were completely DIY, self-releasing everything. And then, you know, it was like we hit a certain ceiling. We needed a little bit more fuel. We got an opportunity to work with an indie label that gave us like a very good advance for an indie label. And the main reason why we signed that deal with Network is because the people that signed us were from the UK, and they brought us to London on 2 like tour support, like all expenses paid tours in the UK. So for me, I was like, get me out of here. I need to go experience something different. And that's why we signed a Network. But what ended up happening was Network, the label, took all of our music off Spotify. And this is when Spotify was just starting, and we were getting, like, we were building, and I was playing shows, and there were so many people at the shows. And I kept asking them, how are you here? Like, how do you know this? And they're like, Spotify. And I remember being like, wow, this is awesome. This was 2014, spring of 2013. And so everyone, I was like, wow, this is great. And then we signed the deal. We go on the tour, and then they're like, we want to take all your music off Spotify to like re-release it. And I was like, this is a terrible idea. And I'll never, ever forget like the tension of like being of that experience. And that was when I was like, I gotta go do my own thing and like only do my own thing and like make all my decisions myself and like just not listen to anybody.
Yes!
And then basically in 2014.
So that's why you didn't get any pushback, because you weren't listening to anybody.
Yeah. With Nudes, no. Like,
yes.
No.
I love this.
There is like, it's funny because there have been times, there was one time where I sent a mix to a mastering engineer to do a stem master.
Yeah. You told me about this.
Did I? Yeah,
No,
the guys wrote like a paragraph of like, do your job, like
what is this dog
this
shit,
is terrible,
basically.
like, oh, and I was just like, I remember being like, he's like, I'm gonna go on vacation, and I'm like, why would you just no, like just no, like, fuck you, I'm not cleaning up my work, I'm not like, no, like I'm not. I care about the energy of the music.
Right. I like it this way.
Yeah. This is my vision. Like, I just want you to enhance it.
I can imagine so many people like having that reaction.
Oh yeah.
To the early Nudes.
Oh yeah.
Songs.
Yeah.
And you know, good for you, as they say in Boston.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, good for you for like saying, no, that's what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Because I think nobody would say that now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you were ahead of the curve in that respect, like very much.
Thank you.
And no, thank you.
Yeah.
But I love that, and I love that you were like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's supposed to be kind of raw,
Well,
rough around the edges, whatever.
yeah. Yeah.
Or that whatever that element of it is what makes it like exciting.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about the energy that goes into the spark of the idea.
Yeah.
Right? And like that energy can't be tamed. And I think that like our perception of what recorded music is so in a box that with Nudes, I strive to challenge the listener to just hear things differently. The way that you do that is just exposing your ears to different vibrations, because that's how you can expand your perception. If you're so dialed into a box and like, you know, Drake is amazing, right? Like Drake records are dope. Like they're like every time, you know, the Drake sound, and I'm talking about like there was a time period where like all of the Drake records were like defining the EQ space of like what pop songs were like. But they got so in a box that like everything is so tamed down that we've lost this connection to certain like frequencies and like energies and movements. And like with Nudes music, like I strive to take that and represent it. And you know, technically on paper or on like an EQ spectrum, it might be like, what is this? But like it exists. So it exists, so let it be. You know what I mean?
I mean, the not to get too off subject there, but like I find that modern records, that the way that they approach and like deal with bass, pop records in particular Spotify pop records.
Yeah.
If you want to call that like
a
you
genre.
know, it's genre.
Yeah.
I particularly like, I send a lot of records out and people are like, what is the bass on like what is the bass information that's happening on this? And I'm like this is the way that I think bass is supposed to be. And whatever you're doing over there, like I don't get that. That sounds tiny. To me.
Bass is so important. Actually, like I've been listening to a lot of like T-Rex lately.
Yes.
Which I remember like Stacy talking a lot about T-Rex back
Still
in that day.
Still her absolute favorite thing in the
universe.
universe.
I feel like Nudes, like definitely like T-Rex, that energy is definitely a very huge part of my
very
DNA.
Similar in a lot of ways,
yes.
in that he was kind of like vibe only. Essentially. Like he didn't care about any.
And the riffs are just the same, like pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's just like just goes. I love
and when
it.
things change, it's just because like it needed a change. Not because like there's some
bored, but
or there's some song thing that's supposed to be happening or whatever. Totally.
But so I'm listening to a lot of that stuff, and it's just like the bass was so important to like the rhythm. Like kick drums were like not really that important in older recordings, but it was that bass that really fused the bridge between the drums and the other elements of the songs. And bass is so important.
I feel like it's a lot of it does have to do with technology, but also with like media, the way that people listen. Like when I see so much stuff on like online production forums and like new plugins coming out and stuff like that about making sure that your bass can be heard on like iPhone speakers or whatever and things like that, which I get that because people do listen to music that way. I mean, I actually like I've had to change my thought process about like when I send a song out the door, because like 9 times out of 10 the very first play that it's gonna get is gonna be hopefully on earbuds, but very likely just on the actual speakers on a phone. And like, so, you know, grabbing somebody in that, you know, like space
Yeah.
is important, but I think you can't ignore this, listening to it in other ways and different ways.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting process, like, trying to capture what these instruments offer and like having them have to, fit into the modern way that people experience music. But
Well, one thing that I love about your music is that it's like it's almost like a
we're just
fuck
fucking-
you.
100%. This is my favorite thing in the world, man. Like, always.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely, I mean,
It's almost like I don't think this is your
That's the punk.
mentality.
That's the punk,
Yeah.
you know?
But it's
Yeah.
almost like if you're saying this is how it's supposed to be,
Yes.
I'm gonna prove to
Yes,
you
that's
that
pretty
it
much-
doesn't have to be that way.
that's pretty much how I think. Just because, like, I just, like, can't, I just can't put things in a box. Like, I just can't do it. Like, I've tried. I've spent a lot of time trying to put myself in a box just because of from those insecurities and thinking I have my one shot. TV, for example, because you asked, how do I think about those songs? Those songs were me just trying to put myself in a box.
Yes.
It doesn't work. Fucking let it all out. Like, just let it explode. Create the big bang with every single song. Like, pour intentions, pour energy. We're talking about energy. We're working with energy. We're working with an unseen, something that you can't physically see with your eyes, but it affects your body. It affects the world around you. Music is so powerful, and that is what I strive to reconnect people with, is that experience, the power of music. And I think that, unfortunately, when people make music specifically for Spotify playlists, it's like, and it loses the power. Artists in 2022 moving forward, it's just all about taking the power back, because our creative essence is what makes us human, and it's how we're going to create a new world. And that's this community, the Do Your Thing community, the Nvdes community, is all about just connecting those like-minded creative people so we can create the new world.
As much as you may look back at that moment that we talked about before as a sort of inflection point for when you were like, I'm not going to listen to people anymore. It's something that I struggle with, and I only say that because it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
Like, how do I, because you also can't just go through your life saying no to everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And saying fuck you to everybody and
Yeah.
saying I'm the only one that can be right. Like, where is the balance? How do you find the balance, in that? And how do you, like, I think a lot of people, like, they want, like, how do you have the courage to, like, sort of chase your own bullshit?
Well,
You
I think what happened was with TV and with Ghost Beach, those were my opportunities where I just had really, I failed in certain ways where I wasn't honoring myself. I wasn't being true to my energy. The first TV EP was called Something to Get Excited About. That's my energy. I'm an excited person. I want to share that excitement with everyone around me. That's what Nvdes is, And with Ghost Beach, it was a lot of, I love Doc. We're spiritual brothers. We shared a lot of love and a lot of incredible times together. But musically, it was like, I was like, I need the rawness. I need the real shit. I need the taste, the smell, like all of it. Like, I need the sensory explosion of this music. And I wasn't getting it until I started Nvdes. I said, I'm going to make everything about a cantaloupe, and I'm going to just, like, be nude with myself, and just whatever my inspiration, whatever I wanted to chase, I'm going to chase it. And I started doing that, and then things just started, like, working out. I think on a broad spectrum, how people can have the courage to take the steps that are right for them, it's very simple. It's just listen to your body. Like, if your body expands and it feels good when you say, like, right now my body is just buzzing because I'm loving this exchange, right? That's when you know something's right. That's when you know something feels good. If you are asked to do something and you feel a sensation in your body that tightens up, if you feel any sort of contraction when you're presented with an opportunity, probably not. You probably shouldn't do it. You can do it, but you're ultimately gonna have to come back to the path to follow be in full alignment, the path of least resistance with yourself. You know.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And
it's hard. It's hard.
It is very hard to do, especially when there are financial, concerns and that kind of thing. But I think you could boil that down to listening to your gut, right?
Exactly.
Essentially,
exactly.
there's a million
That's
different
another
ways
way
to say it.
Yeah.
But, like, are there things that you're doing specifically to facilitate that, being in that space?
Well, I meditate. I meditate when I started Nudes. I used to, and I say this all the time, when I moved to LA, because I basically like left everything in New York, like ended Ghost Beach, like and people were like, because I don't really sing with Nudes, and I was a singer in Ghost Beach, and people liked my voice. People liked my voice in TV, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, why aren't you singing anymore? And I was just like, I just gotta follow myself, I gotta follow whatever my body is telling me to do. And I used to lay on the floor in my studio apartment and meditate about removing the negative beliefs from my head. So I spent a long time really just sort of like reconnecting with myself. And now I do transcendental meditation twice a day. I do cold showers every single morning. And the reason why I do that is just to get my energy like feeling really good in my body. You know what I mean? That's the way that I stay super clear as far as like what presents itself to me and like how I can know what my body is feeling about a certain thing.
Yeah.
Right? But the other thing is like,
because I think those are some like actual actionable, like real actionable
every single
things.
person can do that makes a big difference. And this is another thing that I want to communicate with who's ever listening is that with my music, like Nudes music, just the process of me going to my computer and dedicating myself to follow my inspiration has created this. Like I'm sitting with you, Bleu, in my studio in Glassell Park in Vibe Mountain, and look like this has been all around the world. There's what life unfolds to you when you just take those little steps to follow your inspiration is incredible. The music, my interaction with creating my music has changed my mindset and continues to change my mindset and expand my mindset. And like I believe that Nudes music is a tool that if people want to like listen to it, it can expand their mind too, because it has for me big time. You cannot make any decisions based on anything other than like what's your inspiration.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you said this earlier, you also have to be open to things that are not in your field of vision.
Yeah.
As well.
100%.
Because
100%.
Yeah, because you don't know what the next thing is going to be, even to the extreme that it might even not be music.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
But it's almost like that's how open you have to be to the possibilities.
Yes.
Of what, can what is out there for, what possibilities are out there to inspire you and move your like sort of
your
life
energy
and
around.
Your energy and
and
your
that
creative
and that's
life
why
around.
as soon as you walked in, you asked, why did you do this podcast?
Yes,
like
you never answered.
Yes, and that this is why I did this podcast, is because I wanted to have these types of conversations with creative people and share these creative ideas with the community where people can benefit and use. Maybe someone's picking up on what we're saying and it's inspiring them to do their thing, to follow their gut, to just like connect with their energy and see where it takes them. And I see the people that I have on this show as representative of people that do that. And I think that we need to share that vibration. You know, you don't have to just do something because you think you have to be like Justin Bieber. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of like what Instagram and the problem that people have with social media is that people are just like doing things because they think it's what they have to do to become, you know, this star. But like you can be creative and like not do that stuff and like have a very fulfilling, very exciting, incredible path laid ahead of you, and that path is going to just keep throwing things at you that are so exciting, like this podcast. My path threw me here, and now we're having this conversation, and now you and I have opened up a whole new channel of sharing our creativity and connecting our minds where we can, like, you know what I mean? So if you guys are down, we could do a part 2 and just talk about songwriting. Because I actually really wanted to talk with you about the songwriting process and how you specifically have influenced my songwriting style. We did not get there, but I feel like we can make that a whole different episode if you're ever down.
I am so down because I am personally so inspired by the way that you go about creating things and where
Thank
that
you.
ends up and stuff like that.
And I want to talk about how you inspired me to create the way that I do.
That's very, and that is very, very genuine.
Yeah.
And I think that
likewise.
That only kind of happened as this like massive pendulum swing away from where we were at that time. And I think that is like so cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
It is so cool.
Yeah. That's why I want to do this podcast with you, is because like it is crazy cool, like how it worked out. You know what I mean? So we can talk about songwriting next time. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the people that have stuck with us through this whole episode. If you're feeling the vibes, if you're feeling the vibration elevation, go outside, take a walk, turn your phone off, turn your computer off, and just like let this energy kind of just like absorb and sit with it for a minute. The garbage truck has just arrived, so like right on time.
You have to leave in the part where we talked about it earlier.
That's what makes it real. That's like
this is the bookend.
Yeah, exactly, the bookend. Bleu.
Oh my gosh!
Thank you so much,
This
man.
was actually, I really like. This set my day off on a really nice vibe. I'm going to pick my parents up at the airport. Yeah. And then I'm gonna be working on some music and some fun things for the rest
And I wanted
of the
to
day.
say, like, I would love to like work on a song together. But dude, I'm so happy that you benefited from that. I feel like, how did you feel with this crystal?
It got warm.
Yeah, dude.
As I was.
Yeah. Are you into crystals?
I'm totally not. My wife is.
Oh, cool.
And but I will say that this is very beautiful. First of all.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But also, I didn't expect it to. It's really like it's super warm.
Yeah, the energy is buzzing, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Peace,
My
bro.
pleasure.